Perfect. We are live. We are live. Now let me prepare for the recording. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Non-Intuitive Beat podcast brought to you by the Leaders Club that you are part to if you're listening to us. But as usual, do consider elevating your club membership by joining our Discord channel. Let me go and see how many people are there. And today in the virtual studio, we have here Dmitry Mananikov. Say hi to people.
Hi, everyone.
And we have our old new co-host, yes, that's a co-anchor, I don't know, that have not been attending our podcast in a while. Gleb Bachkaryov, say hi to people now, you too.
Hi, hello everyone.
And as usually the most annoying voice would be me, Slava Kovalevsky. Okay, I have tons of the stuff that I wanted to share with you folks, but I don't want to start polluting the show with just me talking. So I wanted to ask if anyone has anything you folks want to share or to start or anything you want.
If you have a lot you need to start, then we can interrupt you in the middle.
Okay, fine. I'm going to start with a very minor thing. I'm going to share. Where is the Firefox? I saw this picture. It's probably photoshopped and Unreal picture, but it just was so hilarious. The concept of the Cybertruck painted as a Halo car from the Halo game is just so amazing. I don't know. I don't know if it's real or not. I just thought it's really hilarious. And if I ever will have a Cybertruck, I want it in this painting exactly.
You can start with your car and paint it.
Yeah, but the shape is different. You see, this is actually resembles that very car from the game. And it's not clicking until you see it. And yes, it's just hilarious. Anyway, we have so many news in the AI space. So many news this the last 2 or 3 days. I don't know. Does anyone has a favorite news?
My favorite is Llama 3.1, and I also see notes that you mentioned it contains functions. No, not functions.
Oh no, that all Llama.
Llama.
Yes, that all Llama.
I also hear that Llama 3.1 has function, but maybe you can tell like what's good with Llama 3.1.
Yeah, so this is indeed a huge new model that Meta has released, and to be fair, it does have some changes to Llama 3, but they're not super drastic. And I'm speaking from the perspective of architecture of the model, not from the perspective of the quality. The quality seems to be much better than it used to, than Llama 3.0. And the biggest change that they did, they actually opted out of using mixture of experts. And just to give a very quick overview of what is mixture of experts on the architecture of the model, there is this concept where you have a gating neural network, so to speak. And this neural network decides to which subneural network to forward your requests.
Okay, but they used it before and now they don't?
Yes, they used to use it before and now they dropped it to a just dense architecture. Dense architecture just combine everything together and you have a huge neural network, so to speak. And theoretically, mixtural expert, if you look on it, might even have the same amount of neurons, the same size, but because you have the gating mechanics that will forward it to one of the subnetwork, you actually have much faster inference, for example, because you literally don't have to load all the layers. While if you have a dense mechanic, even though it has the same amount of neurons, you have to load all of them for the forward pass.
So what's interesting, like Facebook is double down on open source LLMs, right? They train it, they probably spent a lot of money, but then they release it in open source. And people actually cheer like Facebook for that, like, hey, they're doing good thing. But I suspect they only do it because their model is not good enough. If they have something, if they would have something that beats ChatGPT, they won't release it in open source. How do you think?
Oh, so here is a catch. We shouldn't be saying open source. It's license. So you cannot use it. You cannot build a company around it. You cannot use it in your product. It's the license TLDR of the license of this model is if you're building any commercial product, talk to us. Maybe we will.
Is it licensed to model architecture, like code implementation? Is it licensed to weight? Because my understanding is they also published weight.
Yeah, weight specifically. You cannot just use their model because really what the universe converging to understanding that you need three specific things: architecture of the model, data, and capacity to train it. And really, without these two, architecture doesn't mean anything. If you don't have ability to take weights with that pre-trained model and just fine-tune it, if you don't have data, and realistically, almost none of us have data big enough to train the model. If you don't have capacity, again, none of us have capacity to train such size of the model. It's useless. Like you cannot.
It's also quite strange, right? Like they want other people to pay for their weights, while they probably crawl the whole internet for free and to train this model.
Yeah, and interesting that the whole universe right now trying to decide what will be happening next, because you can do it only one time. After that, new content. Where is the new content going to come from? If people will start typing less, stop publishing things, and it's...
You mean like people like use models and then they don't generate new content?
Yeah, like Stack Overflow that already publishing your results from LLM. Like imagine this bright new future where LLM only generating like 80% of the content.
I mean, it still could be. It's a good point, but you can see like we have oversaturation in other areas like movies, like music, right? Like there are more music that you can listen like if you just listen until the end of your life. The same with books. Still, people write them. I think it's more like we need to find new approaches to monetize, because before it was, hey, I publish on internet, I put some advertisement. Now your content can be scrapped, you don't get users, so it doesn't make sense. So people try to find the new ways to just monetize content. It may go to LLMs after, but still.
Yeah.
Slava, how about direction in university, which will train students to work with data, to create data, especially for AI? It's like people work intentionally.
Yeah, it's to some extent, I think we went touch base in this specific direction. It feels like in the future, the human being still might be the creator of the genuine new content, so to speak. So maybe LLM can use, for example, new APIs for of Spring that will be released. But there's probably someone that need to write a nice documentation for the LLM to use. Interesting, this is almost the same. Later tonight, we're going to speak about one of the libraries that I put together. It's a simple library to enable LLM to use your local functions. Many libraries like that already developed. But when I was doing it and I was using it, I found myself in a peculiar situation when I realized that I'm spending more time writing documentation for LLM, how to use my APIs, and actually writing code. And I was rewriting documentation several times. I realized that, LLM cannot realize how this can be used or should be used. So I rewrote documentation there, the documentation in other places. So I literally was writing new content for LLM to consume. It was an interesting and fun experience. But coming back to Llama specifically, the fact that they ditched a mixture of experts is not all. There is many interesting things that they have released in the white paper. And to be fair, majority of them are not directly related to the quality of the model. They're tangential, but they're just interesting for practitioners who do train the model. The most interesting for me is the chart of the problems, the table of the problems and what they have faced during the training. And so they try to calculate what exactly have interrupted the training. And the reason why it's a problem, because as I mentioned some time ago, software for the model training is very immature. And one of the manifestations of this immaturity is when you have a hardware problem on the higher level, on the software level. If you have one node that is impacted, most likely you have to stop the whole cluster, completely stop the training, and restart from the latest checkpoint. So if you have a 2000 GPUs, for example, and one GPU suddenly stopped working, you literally wasted some amount of time of all 2000 GPUs because all of them has to go to the previous checkpoint.
Is it because checkpoint is pretty far away?
Yes, it's because of the checkpoint pretty far away, and because software is not capable today to carve out one GPU and keep training with the rest of GPUs, so the process will not be lost.
I see.
And because of that, almost any interruption creates a huge money problem for the companies. And Meta specifically published this table of what exactly was the biggest problem. And by far, the biggest was fault in GPUs. 30% of all problems was fault in GPUs. And the second has almost 2 times less percent-wise of faults. That, I don't know, just interesting number.
But second one also is kind of
oh, yes,
GPU, right? Like it's failed to memory.
True.
It's like it's mostly GPUs.
Yep. If you combine, it's like almost 50%, almost half of all the problem. Actually, it's more than half if you combine the smaller one. This will be, more than half of the percent. Yeah. Jesus.
And I guess it's NVIDIA.
Of course, yes. I'm pretty sure. I don't think they explicitly stated this, but yes, I think you're right. It's H100. And another specific thing that they mentioned here is silent data corruption. Honestly, this is really scary shit. And this is effectively a situation when you have an incorrect data without any explicit indication that data being corrupted.
I mean, you can always have like a bit flips and other things in the memory.
Bit flips, correct, yes. But in the memory, quite often you will have, for example, a checksum that you can verify. In this specific case, imagine that you have a CPU that have broken hardware API that when you asking it to do 2 + 2 returns 5. In this case, 5 will be genuine number. You cannot verify it with hash sum because it is exactly what the CPU has returned and intended to return.
It's kind of the same problem people with quantum computers have.
Oh, well, could you elaborate?
I mean, quantum computers, like all calculations on them, they pretty much probabilistics. Like there are some probabilities that you get correct answer. It's more complex than that, but technically, like when you do calculation on quantum computer, it can be super fast, but result may not be precise. So you may want to run like multiple times and then until you get some confidence. So you never get like 100%, but you get some confidence that result you get is correct one.
What is the secret of the universe and everything like that? 42. Or maybe not. Or maybe it's
somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere there. Yes. Okay, so this is another thing that I wanted to mention, and on
this note of faulted GPUs, have you seen news with the Intel processors?
News? No, I'm typing.
So Intel processors, I think their new architecture has a bunch of problems when people start using it. And it's like consumer processors, like for gaming computers, for regular computers. There was some crashes and overheating due to high voltage. And it seems like Intel tried to postpone post-mortem or telling people what's going on for a long time while they're trying to fix it with microcode. So apparently recently they found they tweaked microcode and released that it will solve problem, but people start digging and it kind of solves problem, but there are more problem with architecture and hardware itself. So it's really interesting to see how it will go. Will it start working? Because for many people, just they bought pretty expensive processors and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm not entirely surprised that something like this happening to Intel. It's the company in a really peculiar and interesting situation. They are in a trap, and I honestly don't know how they will get out of this trap, where they have to maintain backwards compatibility and they only have to keep adding instructions. And
that's true. But also, like, for me, it's really good signal that company leadership is really, really bad in terms of, like, they completely missed whole mobile, right? They completely missed like whole like video cards thing. But I would hope at least, like, okay, maybe you're just like very good at one thing that you're doing, like processors, but they are definitely not. And it's quite interesting. Like they don't try to switch to ARM. They don't try to invent new architecture. They just like try to iterate on the same old architecture, which is just lagging behind more and more in many stations.
On that front, I always was interested how NVIDIA might avoid the same trap. And turns out there is two specific things that's happening. One, they actually finally have completely split the graphical processing and computation for the AI. So what I mean by that, starting Turing, you no longer have graphical part in the server GPUs. That was never the case. It always was first you go Volta, for example, you get Volta, first you go with Volta to the server stack, then you will get the same Volta in GeForce. And then after that, you finally will be having different flavors like 2080, 2070, which is just, all of them are just cut and reducted version of Volta, because they always had one chip, really just one chip, first for servers, then for gamers, and then for cheaper gamers. And now I think it's starting Turing. I don't remember which specific architecture. They split it, so now you don't have graphical part at the server side, and you do not have all the AI part on the GeForce. And the second thing that I realized, how they can and probably will escape the same trap, they do control user space. You cannot call hardware APIs yourself. You only can do a syscalls to CUDA.
Okay.
So
they can swap hardware over time.
Exactly. They can swap the hardware API because they do not have dependency, how Intel has dependency on the compilers. If the compilers compile something for the hardware API, 10 years ago, it should be working, even today. So this is pretty interesting way how NVIDIA looks like can avoid the same trap. But we'll see. We'll see again in 10 years.
Yeah, but even like Apple did it, right? Like they released like a second, like they released new processors. They create like special compiler for tools. So Intel could do the same. They could run some parallel lines. They just don't want. They don't want to invest and hope like, US government will bake them up if they start falling apart.
Oh, but this is the actual problem. The problem in the sense that Apple controls ecosystem, so they can give you the hardware with the special OS on top of it, and only make sure that those are together working. They have control on this. And in OS, you will have this translator, that Rosetta 2, that will translate on the fly. Intel doesn't have this control. They need to partner with Microsoft, I guess, and then hardware.
They can partner with Microsoft. Why not?
Yeah, that is true. And to some extent, we have Windows on Snapdragon, right? And I think the latest Surface Pro is on the Snapdragon. I think I
actually seen the news about it, and it was like some negative news, but I don't remember what it was.
I would not be surprised, but I think the Copilot PC is on the Snapdragon. It's ARM under the hood. Again, not Intel, but ARM. So I think you're right. They could have partnered. They could have done exactly the same what Snapdragon did. Is it Snapdragon? I'm still trying to figure out. Snapdragon. Yep. Surface Snapdragon X. Interesting. Okay. I'm reading the news. And it sounds. I don't know how much of like truth it is. ARM demands destruction of all PCs with Snapdragon X. Apparently, ARM and Qualcomm, who makes Snapdragon, they have some issues over ARM license. Oh my god. Jesus, I was trying to quickly Google it and find it. Have not found it, but what you just said sounds hilarious.
I mean, probably they will settle with some money, but still, it sounds pretty funny.
100%. Okay, so this is actually all I wanted to say about the Llama 3. I don't know what else to say. Is it already on the Llama?
I haven't tried yet. I really want to try it, and I know people who already try this like functions, and it works well. And for me, it's really good thing. I want like a small model that I can run locally with a function support. So we'll see.
Yeah, so the function that you mentioned is a new functionality of the Llama, just to give what?
Okay, can you tell more, because I completely missed this week.
Okay, so Llama finally released functionality of the function, so tools actually, how they call it. And really, concept of the tools is the same concept that was introduced by OpenAI, and then everyone started using it. So the idea that when you do call to LLM, you're also sending to LLM list of the functions that are available on the client side. And then LLM not only just give you a proper response, it can respond with saying, oh, can you call function X or function B or whatever? And then your client's supposed to be calling that function, getting the results, going back to LLM saying, okay, I have called this thing. Can you now respond to a customer? And through the iteration like that, you will be able eventually to complete the task from the customer.
Do you know how it works with multiple models? Because, I mean, I guess they have some prompt or some like a special syntax, but for different models, it may or may not work. If you may get some pretty stupid model which doesn't really respond with a function or doesn't understand how to handle it.
Oh yeah, so the CrewAI had this problem because CrewAI already support functions, tools. I still don't remember. I think they also call it tools. So they also have support of the tooling, but unlike Llama, they do not differentiate. You can use tools with any model you want. And I do have the problem there that actually, you can take Llama and then use CrewAI with tooling, and in this way you will get tools for any model that Llama support, not just this. And this is indeed a just prompt, and this used to be much bigger problem. I used to be a big advocate that we need to train models specifically for support tooling, which also used to be the case. You have to do specific fine-tuning of the model. But as the model gets more smarter and smarter, right now, even the stupidest model, usually the stupidest model, will handle tools really well. But once in a while, once in a blue moon, when I used to use CrewAI, yeah, it will give you the error because actually not even CrewAI. While I was developing my product, I got Gemini Flash, 1.5 Flash, periodically would not understand how to call API, especially if you have a complex function. You have a Python function with 5 arguments, 3 of them have default value, some of them are not, and time to time it will forget to give one argument that is actually mandatory to give and things like that.
It seems like it's trying to copy real programmer working with Python.
Yes, that's true. So yeah, this is TLDR. This is what function, and honestly, function includes a special way to calling to calling your LLM. You need to have a particular agreement because now you're no longer returning response. You're returning set and sequence of calls you need to do. You need to do a call. You need to go back to LLM. So there is some particular SDK that need to be done for this particular syntactical sugar. Let's put it this way. Funny enough, the reason why I have my library and the reason why I even created it, because all of these, let me find it quickly first, because all of SDKs that are created today, they are actually pretty low level. And I will explain what I mean by that. Let me first find something to showcase. Okay, at least this is use case, how it's used, but I want to show the toolbox. So what I mean by low level is if you calling and creating particular tool, you need to create tons of the description. So I'm trying to show right now what Llama has. You're creating tons of the description where effectively you need to take your local code, and you need to create a special JSON that describes to LLM which type and which specific functions you have locally. So this is the first thing. And to be honest, now what I mean by low level and high level, there is absolutely no reason why this cannot be automatically derived. And so this is why I'm doing the tooling, because I really don't want to be constructing this JSON. I want to point it to either function, Python function, or to Python package, and it will just read documentation from it. That's the whole idea.
That's how I would expect it to work.
Yes, but the thing is, they are first. It probably will be. I'm sure they all have this roadmap. But the reason why everyone doing it much more lower level, because in this case you actually can integrate it with anything you want. So you can have a JavaScript. That's
I see. Okay, so it's like it provides like more robust APIs so we can tune it.
Yes, while obviously more higher level, my toolbox works only with Python, and that's it, like nothing else. Now, there is also specific things like they have a required field or some other things that might not be super easy to derive with the Python, so you now have to introduce special thing in documentation, things like that. And there is second part. Second part is also very important, and I don't think they actually have it here. Yeah, I don't think they're showing it. Maybe full example. So the second part is when you're getting the response is also a complex JSON. And you now need to write the function, and in this case it's actually fairly trivial because it's a Python, but you still have to write it. The logic that will parse this thing, take the name of the function that you should be calling, find this function in your code, call it with input arguments, and then send the back request to the LLM saying here is the results. All this, as a developer, I don't want to be writing. I want the logic that has that in initialization state I'm giving which function I have, and when I sending the message to LLM, all this mumbo jumbo with calling this function happens under the hood, and I just getting final return when it's done.
Okay, but tooling, like that's what Llama tooling provides, and you provide like more high level to define these functions.
Correct. So this all code, if I would be shown in my toolbox, it's literally replaced with these three lines. So
lines, like for people who listen, lines are just you define list of function and feed it to
the client.
Your tool, and that's it. Now you can ask questions with
yes,
these functions.
Yep. Then you just send the message and it returns you the result, and under the hood it actually doing everything that they showed in an example. They getting the answer from LLM, executing local functions, and only when LLM thinks we have done, it's now returning me the results, and I'm printing the results on the screen.
You know, every time I see Python repos, and yours is not exception, I'm like, okay, how do I get all these packages? Is it like global? Do I need Python 2 or Python 3?
No one uses Python 2. So I don't think
like when I go to like repos on Python, there's like no setup instructions. Like some of them will contain some information about environments, and every time is different.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And in my particular case, I host it on the PyPy, and I need to include one line that says PyPy install particular version. But yes, it can be found on the PyPy with a classical way. But you're absolutely right; it should be here. Now an example of what I doing with this, because I transferring one of my personal bots that I'm using for investments on Gemini in my specific toolbox. And honestly, this is my first case where I completely dropping Crew AI, I completely dropping local models, because even though it's still pricey to run my personal assistants on things like Gemini or ChatGPT, it is now finally financially manageable and viable. It is no longer an end of the world. And I no longer have these crazy cases when I can have $100 spent overnight or weekends asking too many random questions. This is no longer like that. And so far, I think I will stick to it. I will now ready to stick to one particular provider. Obviously, this will be Gemini for me, and forget about local one.
Okay. What about like GPT-4o Mini that they released recently. They promised like have like very small price on it.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm referring. So I'm using Flash, but this is the whole idea. It's price tag the same. So when I was saying Gemini Flash, I meant the same as GPT-4o. It's small price, and it's decent quality wise. In fact, in some cases, I found it even more superior in the sense that faster model not trying to create a lot of unnecessary wording. When I ask it, go and sell my shares, it goes and sell my shares. While the more smarter model would try to start asking question or what's needed.
Now the real question: what is the gain?
You mean percent-wise?
Yes.
This is, I will tell you why it's an incorrect question. I can tell you the percent-wise, but I can tell why it's an incorrect question in this context. I'm not using right now AI to build this strategy. I'm just using AI as financial advisor through whom I'm doing transactions.
I see. So it's more like a broker tooling, right? Okay, got it.
Yes. So I'm coming and saying, I actually want to, to short Intel, I want to buy several puts. Find something reasonable. It will assess implied volatility, realized volatility, different things like that. Show me the examples, and then says execute it. And I would say, yeah, execute it. And then so I'm still in charge of the strategy, so to speak.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the way how it looks, I start moving it fully to open source so anyone can try and play it. There is many other factor things, but with toolbox that I just mentioned, you can literally create a Python file with any amount of function. In my case, it's sell shares, buy shares, sell options, buy options, things like that. Dump it in one file or two files, or as many files as you want. And that's all you need, because Toolbox will allow you to say, give me a Gemini client. Here is a pre-prompt. I have a huge pre-prompt written somewhere. And on top of this pre-prompt, it will say, here is a set of functions available to you. Here is pre-prompt, and that's it. And here is a Telegram channel to connect to. And that's all, literally all you need, and it will be your financial advisor.
Nice. Okay, but I still need instruction. How to run Python. I need to ask ChatGPT to convert this to Node.js. That one at least I know how to run.
Yeah, I don't have a toolbox for Node.js, but I'm pretty sure. By the way, you can implement something like that for Node.js. I'm pretty sure it's people need it. I'm sure 100%. Yeah. Let me go back to the topic list. I think that's all yes, Mistral. But last thing about the AI that have happened. Last thing I promise is Mistral large enough. This is probably the last thing that I remember that have happened. And the fun part is that it has happened on the next day after Llama 3.1. So almost all benchmark was in comparison to Llama 3.1. And of course, they were claiming that they're better in some of the benchmarks. So it took 1, maybe 2 days after Llama 3.1 said that we are the best, until Mistral said, no, we are the best.
But they're comparing like a big models, right?
Yes, of course. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, for me, main interest like in Llama is like a small model. That's, when company release something like 400 billion parameters, like, yeah, it's cool, but I don't really care. But I really want to see like a small and effective models.
That's true. I'm with you. I kind of was with you. Now, as I said, I less and less using local models. And Gleb, you've been quiet for quite some time. Tell us your story. Are you using local LLMs or only ChatGPT or only remote LLMs?
Yeah, on the remote LLMs. And actually, I'm interested what is the best case for training my custom GPT or some custom LLM for on specific materials like big manuals. So what will be your choice in this case?
I think I would try Claude because they have they have this concept of projects where you can dump documents and then start asking again these documents.
ChatGPT also have paid versions the same, but I think maybe there are more options like local or everything that you know. Actually, it's interesting for me.
I actually don't know, Slav, what's better, like fine-tuning on documents or RAG or something else?
I would suggest RGI more. I highly suggest to try with RGI because fine-tuning in many cases works worst, and it requires to redo fine-tuning. And RAG you can do with almost any model. You can implement Llama with tooling that has ability to read your documents, to do search. So if you have any vector DB that you can install, you can dump stuff to the vector DB and then do a fuzzy search on top of vector DB. And this is, for example, how for a year I was using long-term memory for one of my personal assistants. It has access to fuzzy memory, but you can dump there any documents you need. Just create a logic that dumps is constantly there. That probably would be my suggestions. Probably would be the simplest way.
Thank you. I think I need to research more about what you said, but thank you. It's interesting. And I think it's useful for everyone who listens us.
Do RAG, yes.
Yeah, I think I tried to do RAG on my notes, like with the sum model, like some time ago. It didn't work well. But I really want to get back with a new Llama because I now have like really huge personal wiki and I want to just like use it like to search on it because it's so big right now that I now need better search because sometimes like I'm trying to remember and search just like by text search and it's not always working.
Yeah, I think the fuzzy search you will appreciate. I think, or looking forward to hear what was your experience.
Actually, I wanted to like ask you opinion. So, for example, every time I want to this task, I start from the ground up, right? Like I find a model, write some scripts to seek an answer. But I really think I just needed like a test framework. Like, like here's my notes, here's the question, and then compare answer to something, or even just like give me an answer. And I want to like quickly iterate through different models to see if one particular model give me a proper answer. Because I tried, like I have a bunch of notes, and one note has for my father to his birthday, give him the thing. Like in the middle of the note. And I tried like different models to ask, hey, what gift I want to prepare for my father. And none of them gave me like a good answer.
It's called stack and the haze when you're putting haze in the stack. Sorry. Yeah. But what is the question? What are you asking? How to measure the performance or quality of them?
No, it's more like, are there any toolings that allow me, like, without me writing this tooling to like quickly evaluate models on this task?
Oh, okay. So there are many frameworks that I would try. I don't know if they're working. Let me quickly see Microsoft. And they are all about LM toxicity. They started as tooling to identify how dangerous your LLM, dangerous in the sense how toxic it is, how improper, what is the improper thing they might say. But under the hood, almost all of the framework is a very simple thing that asks the same question in different ways to different models and then assessing it. So I would assume that framework that they built for this can be used for things like you just described.
Okay. I need to check it.
Yeah, I don't know the details, so you will have to check it. But I do know that there is frameworks that exist for similar things. Okay, before going to the last topic, one before last, GM just have killed Origin. Origin is the car that was developed by Cruise that doesn't have steering wheel, and
I remember you were like very happy and enthusiastic about that one.
Yes, I was. And I'm still as enthusiastic. It's I would assume, obviously, I'm not in the Cruise and I don't know the plans, but my assumption that Origin is any program has many different iterations with multi-year plans, and what probably have happened, they have a bold cars that they're restarting on the road. They're working really hard to restart it this year, and because Origin is not happening anytime soon, with everything that have happened, it probably makes total sense not to be producing them now. It doesn't make...
I guess like in the moment when you start using them, they're outdated in some cases.
Exactly, yes. It makes sense to redesign this program in 2, 3, or maybe 5 years from now when they will be back to similar situation again. That's my guess.
Did they start any serial production at all? Like for them,
Yeah.
did they? I'm curious. Like, will they completely disassemble or somehow froze it to preserve? I don't know.
That part I don't know, because I really don't know how much they managed to produce, but I still don't think they produce more than several hundreds. I don't even think that they get to 100. So yeah.
So it's like a small production to some extent.
Yep. Interestingly, Waymo just have started the new car, and obviously they have announcement of the car for quite some time, but the new car is a car purposely built without a steering wheel, and they finally started testing this car in San Francisco. Right now, you cannot yet hire it because it's only it's only testing under the testing. So you only can drive a regular Jaguar, but soon, because the testing already have started, you will be able to drive their purpose-built car. And this is effectively a competitor to Origin. To be fair,
why do they need to test it? I mean, probably it's a different car, but I would expect them, to just get a Jaguar size and wheelbase and just make the same. Now you can just continue drive on the same algorithm.
Oh, so this is the problem with the car. So let me actually show you Zook's cars, and I will tell why it's relevant. Those car testing SF. So
they are pretty similar to Origin design.
No, I'm speaking about the one that's driving on the streets right now. So I'm not speaking about the future car. So if you look on the Zook's car, the first thing that you will see is, and this is actually the design that looks a little bit beautiful. But if you look on the street, this is more or less how it looks on the street. So you will see a bunch of the things that's sticking around to the sides. Oh Jesus, I'm trying to find the better picture. Yeah, so tons of the different things that's sticking around to the sides of the car. And the reason being why it's so horrible look-wise, it's because they did intentionally, they put the sensors exactly in the place where it will be on the final car.
Oh, I see. So car will be bigger.
Yes, so no one else did that, and that's why when you have a different car, you actually cannot just put the same algorithms, because if you move the lidar a little bit...
Yeah, you need to retrain everything. That makes sense. That's why I'm curious why Waymo not trying to get a new car almost the same form as the current car. I guess it's it should be bigger, at least on the photo. The new car will be bigger.
A little bit, and they also did the same that Cruise did. They have not put the sensors like Zook's in the place where it will be on the... But to be fair, I must say that even this thing from Zook's might not work, because there is an occlusions that happens when LiDAR, for example, sends the beam. It might have the occlusions from the body of the car. And even if you put LiDAR here, this LiDAR actually sees more than it will see on the final car. So even from that perspective, or less, I don't know, maybe less, because even the mirrors that looks backwards, you see that mirrors in this case, they actually obstructing part of the LiDAR that looking down. And I don't think that the mirrors will be exactly in the same spot on the final car. So now you will
still have to retrain anyway.
Exactly, yeah. So it's really hard problem to just pick another hardware car, another car, just put the same sensors and do it. It's really hard. So yeah, that's more or less TLDR to answer that specific question. And just judging from the picture, a lot of sensors are in different places here, so they have to retest it somehow. Yeah, so this is what happens with Waymo. This is what happens with Cruise. Now the last topic that I think, Dima, I think you put it there.
It was me. It's already a week since CrowdStrike fuck up. For people who did I don't know, probably everyone, every people who have no idea about IT hear it because flight was delayed, issues all everywhere. That happens because CrowdStrike, they didn't even deploy. They just released a version of data which were crashing their service and crashing whole Windows. And what's interesting, I probably people already discussed all this issue and what's happening. Even funny thing that CrowdStrike tried to give $10 Uber Eats voucher to everyone impacted. And when people start using this voucher, apparently they withdraw it or something. So it's like really funny, you know. But interesting thoughts I've seen, it's about regulation, because companies don't use CrowdStrike because it's like they think it's improved security or they believe it's improved. It's more or less like security setter, but companies are obligated in many cases to have something to cover their assets from, from viruses, from anything. Because if a big company that especially works with government will fucked up, or like avia company, right? Like by hacker attack, then prosecutors will ask him, what have you done to protect your users and customers from this attack? And they can say, hey, we use CrowdStrike, who promised us to protect us, and we pay them a lot of money and they're certified and etc. That's why so many companies use them. And it's like, no one get fired for buying Jira or for paying for CrowdStrike. And essentially it's like regulations that's supposed to create safety actually push people to like one single company that passes all regulation requirements, and which can cause like this huge outage because everyone depends on it. It's a good example where regulation may not work as expected.
But here is a question here. They were not hacked. So sure, there was an outage, and sure, this is a pretty low level.
If they would be hacked, it wouldn't be like regulation problem. I'm saying they have all these problems because they installed CrowdStrike, and they installed it because regulations like force them to install it to some extent.
True, but they force it to be more secure, and this problem is not about security breach. So what I'm trying to say that there is a theoretical possibility that they are more secure. Sure, they times them as outages. That's a different thing.
But that's the thing, like when you ask a company to be secure, they don't really care about security. I never see. It's like, this policy that forces people to change password every 2 weeks. It doesn't really add to security, but it adds to perception of security. And the same with CrowdStrike. Like companies don't really think about how they can protect them from hackers, because most leaks happens like even if they have antiviruses, because they don't really do proper research. They don't hire proper security engineers. But they need to cover their assets, and that's why they buy products like CrowdStrike, so they can shift these legal issues.
I actually agree with you, but I want to add at least one specific perspective. I think the problem is not that government steps in and over-regulates. In some cases, I'm more on the Republican side. I hate when government regulates anything. Like, I don't think they should. But when government does steps in, it's a question whether they can or cannot provide proper assessment. To give a perspective, I actually do believe that new cars assessment, the NTSB, I forgot how NTSB for cars called, maybe it is NTSB, I think it's called differently. Their vehicle safety assessment is actually very meaningful. There is many garbage there, but if more or less it's passing it and you have particular stars, you know that there is a direct correlation between stars to your probability of dying in the car incidents. So I think this is what's missing. They have some bogus requirements, but they have not developed a comprehensive and meaningful way of testing how secure you are.
I think this one, and also there is no proper, I don't want to say punishment, but process of, because let's say like a company making a breach, and week after breach collapse because of wrong construction, right? There is a process how to find the company, but also if people got like really harm from this breach, you can find exact people who is responsible. And it could be engineer who didn't follow some rules, or it could be architect who architect like incorrectly, or it could be even company CEO who like tell everyone to make a cheap materials or something. But with this situation, like CrowdStrike fucked up a lot, and like it was many issues, and they will continue to exist, and companies will continue to use them.
But see, this is where I agree with you, but this is, I think, still the question of testing or verification. For the company, when you're creating the building, when you're building a construction, there is a known thing that you need to do in order for the construction to be safe. And if at any point the government will come up with a list, here is the thing that you need to do to be secure, and these things could be you need to change password once per two.
I don't think government need to go like to that details. The things should be secure if it's secure. If like plane crashes because of engineering, like you already fucked up. Government doesn't need to go like on every step and check every bolt and nut in a plane. The outcome is visible. And then the question, why didn't you implement anything to prevent it? And with CrowdStrike, for example, they released this data like just for everyone Friday evening, and it started rolling out. So something were missing, maybe testing were missing, maybe like gradual rollout were missing. It's happening. Fuck ups happens like in any company. There are like outages, but in a company you usually have post-mortem saying, okay, what's happening, why it's happening, and so on.
I see, and I don't think that these guys release any post-mortem, right?
Oh, people were mocking their director of this company because he was like very this like I don't know, like like lawyer speech when trying to tell anything that you can. The funny thing, that guy, he was also involved in the previous outages in I don't remember what was company, but some other like McAfee, I think. Like it's not the first situation like this.
Got it. And one of the funniest jokes that I saw on the Twitter about this is someone wrote, I'm intern in the CrowdStrike. I just started my job. I pushed minor things and now I checked out for the rest of the weekend because the outage happened on Friday. Yes.
I have a personal beef with CrowdStrike because their software is so horrible. So my previous work laptop was like all constantly freezing because I trying to scan some data, whatever.
Who is using it? CrowdStrike companies.
Like Uber using it, Snowflake is using it, most airlines using it. Again, this is thing like when some became like a security director, like, I need to show that I'm working as a security director. So what can I do? First, I do two-factor authentication. Then I force people to change password every 2 weeks and make it 50 symbols. And I also buy CrowdStrike. So I can collect my bonus as a security director.
One of the things that got impacted is the scary thing actually is traffic control in airport. But the scary part is not the fact that traffic control was impacted because obviously they have a procedure for that. They literally were not able to land some of the airplanes, and that was scary.
Yeah, there were like many issues. So which is also like on these companies, right? Like why do you have like why your computers like dies and you can't do anything?
Yep. Anyway, how about we finish here? Looks like we exhausted the size of the topic. We're almost at an hour. Feels like a reasonable point to stop.
Yeah, I think so. It's a good time.
Just whiskey.
Beer. I'm just with beer. Yeah. Thank you, folks, for stopping by. Have an amazing weekend, and we'll talk to you same place, same time next week.
Yeah. Bye-bye. See you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, now let me stop the live.
I remember the times when Dmitry log out directly after we say bye-bye.
The reason why I'm not logged out right now is because my Uber Eats...
it's still waiting. This is the right after show. So, okay, I'm not going to stop my live because this is a proper after show going on right here. So one thing I want to mention, I completely messed up my setup and I don't know if it was me or this was OpenAI, but transcribe function did not work. So literally transcribe function didn't work. And for the last several thousands of episodes, I did not do neither title nor episode description. It was OpenAI. And it was broken completely. I don't know why. So for the previous episode, in the description, I just wrote Jeep. That was like one.
By the way, have you seen what Zoom added to their conferences? So Zoom, they have like for a long time like this, like when you make recordings, they can show a text.
No, I didn't know what to put in the Google while I'm rendering. Zoom recording, what?
Yeah, recording was all time. Like you can record your meeting, and then when you watch meetings, there's like subtitles.
So okay.
But recently they added assistant. So if you're in a meeting and many people talk, and you completely, like you're just like watching YouTube videos, and someone asks you, you can go to this assistant and quickly ask questions about what were told on this meeting.
Oh my God.
Life hack.
That's a pretty cool feature, I would say.
We have Gemini for calls, and I wonder what can it do. I mean, I know what it can do, but I still need to quickly look to know what I can discuss, what I cannot about stuff that can do. Visual effects, transcribe. Okay.
I'm pretty sure they will copy this functionality from Zoom. It makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yes. Does it do other stuff like meeting notes, action items, summarization? What does it do?
I actually didn't use it much. I think it's like it was enabled like a few days ago. I just like see it there, but I never played with it.
So the next step will be please answer with my voice template the question.
Little meeting where just like on. I mean, I think to some extent it's maybe a future when like everyone has their own very well trained personal assistant, and that can arrange like simple things. Like hey, go to assistant of that person and then make a meeting and lunch somewhere where we both like.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be possible.
But I agree with you, this 100% will be possible. But on the feature-wise, I think what they're missing is, please make it look like my eyes are looking into the camera.
Oh, really? So Apple's already working on this.
Really?
Sensor should be soon. Exactly this, like when you look a bit below camera. Was it Apple? I think it was Apple. I thought it was very deployed.
If it's
interview cheat assistant.
I'm pretty sure if Apple will release it with a wrong type of lightning, it will start putting the fake eyes somewhere in the wrong place. That's like 1%.
Sorry. I think it was exactly this issue. Like when you talk like with an iPad or something with a big screen, it's not really comfortable because people don't see like your inner eyes.
Interesting. The show have ended and more people.
I tried to Google it and I can't find it, but it was like in the news some time ago.
Eyes look to the camera. Funny things, we stopped the show and more people came into the live. This is live.
Oh yeah, so it's FaceTime and
it's a FaceTime.
Mm-hmm. It's called eye contact.
Oh.
And it's already in a... Let me just check. It maybe is already in our phones.
It's already... You can already use it. How to use it? Go to FaceTime. Eye contact. Oh my God. That's just hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. It's there.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Someone on Reddit don't like it because it makes their eyes looks different.
Speaking about Apple, have you heard that Vision Pro sales are plummeting?
I mean, I guess all reviewers and streamers purchased it and that's it.
That's what I would guess. Like everyone.
3,500. It's just like it's not a price that people will buy.
Were you thinking to buy?
I was thinking to buy, but not for that price, especially with a pretty limited set of things. I can imagine if I would be like frequent flyer, like flying like every couple of weeks on the planes, I would buy it. But just like for me, I have no use for that price. I really hope they will make a cheaper version. Just ditch the whole screen, maybe like make it like plastic instead of metal. But who knows?
I think it you or someone sent me news that with rumors that looks like they're building something cheaper.
I mean, it makes sense if they don't want to ditch it completely.
To be fair, I thought that this always was the plan. I thought the plan would be we will build the 3K plus device for the developers to be ready with the app for the cheaper version. I never thought that this should be popular or will be expected to be popular. This device cannot be popular.
Yeah, but as a developer, you need to know, like, they never like announced it, right? Like, as a developer, you need to know like the cheaper device is coming. Otherwise, like, it's not the price of device, it's price of development takes time. But I seen a really cool demo. Someone showed a demo of virtual clothes falling, like a silk, like large silk clothes falling on a couch, and they can drag it on top of couch, and it actually goes like over all bumps and all forms. That was very, very impressive.
You know, I heard. I think I saw the demo where someone were able to swap faces on the people, and this is for you know, whenever the people in the bed when they drink sex, they can swap face to anyone they want to another person.
You just go to the street and you don't like people, so you can change them.
Oh yes.
It's a solution to all racism, you know. If you don't like how people look, you just like make them look whatever.
Look different. Yes.
It's a Black Mirror TV series, very, very close to this.
But one thing I want to mention, what I really liked, I'm a Formula One fan, and the app for Vision Pro for Formula One, it is amazing, because one of the things that when I'm watching Formula One is a problem with bigger picture. Sure, they show you what's happening right now on the grid, but on the bigger picture, you usually don't have a sense where is who right now. And they have this augmented reality with a huge truck that you can put on top of your room and just watch it. It's just amazing.
That looks interesting.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy for $3,000 Formula One watching device, but yes, it's indeed look interesting.
I think it actually could work very well for sport like basketball, because technically, like with the amount of cameras and sensors, you can actually recreate pretty precise 3D model of what's happening and just put you on your table.
Yeah. This is very similar concept. Yep, 100%. So, okay, how about we end here? My rendering is finished. I can start uploading.
Okay.
Thank you, folks, for coming. Have an amazing weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.